He must hold that we do this on Torah Muda. Okay, so yesterday we had a case about 7 lines from the bottom of Chav Tes Amud Beis. So let's go back there, and that'll catapult us into today's topic. Someone told his chaver, "Ma bas b'habei." So what are you doing in my house? Out of here. Amrlei. So the respondent, or the muksuk, as we'll call him, because he's the person who wants to be evicted. Oh, as an aside, yesterday they were moving. There was a moving truck in front of my mother-in-law's house, and the squatter is moving her packages out. So my wife called her and said, "Are you out?" She says, "No, I'm still here till the end of the month, but I'll be out." So Moshe made a little bit moifus for us. So they want to throw her out.
Video camera?
What? Our videos are working, but we have people who pass by all the time. And we had someone go into the house to make sure they're only taking her stuff, not anything else, even though she's locked out of the rest of the house. My boys, my base. So he said, I bought it from you. I don't know what you want. I bought this from you. And I made a full chazaka in it, and you were not moicha throughout the entire 3 years. So the person to claim to be the owner said, "What are you talking about? Chazaka. You didn't make a chazaka. I was there the whole time. I was in an inner room, and I would regularly walk through the place that you were staying, and in fact, you don't have a chazaka at all." As the Rashbam says, the Chador Mapnimim, I lived in one of the inner rooms of that complex. I used to always walk through, or what you would call trespassing, in your property. Clearly, you were never being machzik, because I was showing my bias by walking through your property. Because you weren't showing a manifestation of ownership. You were not making a chazaka at all. Nachman said, you have to prove your chazaka. So Rav Nachman sided with, let's call him the lekeach, right? I'm sorry, Rav Nachman sided with the moicher. He sided with the moicher, and he told the lekeach, you need to prove that you had a good chazaka. So Reb Nachman sided with the moicher. I would side with the lekeach. Right now he's in the property, and you want to throw him out. So the steer that I got confused with yesterday is pretty simple now. Barami de Rava de Rava, Barami de Rav Nachman de Rav Nachman. Here Rav Nachman sides with the moicher, and the Rava sides with the lekeach. In the next case that we're going to bring, Rava is going to side with the moicher, and Rav Nachman is going to side with the lekeach. Someone told his friend, this is no longer a question of chazaka, this is a question of identification. I just bought a package of properties from Bar Sisan, and I'm going to flip that entire package of properties to you. Pretty clear cut. The problem is, there was another property that this moicher owned that was called the Bar Sisan estate, but it wasn't part of those package. It wasn't part of that package of properties that he had included. He had meant to include in the original sale. Omerle, so the moicher told Lakeach, "Hi love the Vei Bar Sisan he. This is not a property that's part of that package. The Kuriye who the Mikri the Vei Bar Sisan. It happens to be called the Bar Sisan estate, but it's not from the package of properties that I bought from Bar Sisan that I'm including in the sale to you." Yet Lakeach said, "I'm sorry, that's a Bar Sisan property. I want it as well." So also look at Rav Nachman. They came to Rav Nachman. Ukma biyad Lakeach. So in our case, on Amud Beis, Rav Nachman sided with the moicher, and he made Lakeach reprove his chazaka that he had exclusive use of the property during that period of time. Over here, Rav Nachman says, I'm going to follow Lakeach, and I'm going to make it incumbent on the moicher to prove that this property was not included in the deal. Amalei Rava, and there Rava commented to Rav Nachman, Dina Hachi. Is that the halacha? So it's kasha the Rava. The Rava over here, Rava is siding with the Moicher, and there he was siding with Loikeach. And kasha of Nachman. It's very different. You're right. The Rava Lakasha, because of what you said right away yesterday. It's very different. Because who's the Muchsa? The Rava Lakasha, Hasan Moicher Koibenichse. In the case that we just quoted here on Amar Aleph, the Moicher right now is in control of the properties, and the Lakech is demanding that I transfer this property to him. He's the Muchsik. But Hacha Lakech Koibenichse. Oh, the Lakech is living there, and the Moicher wants to evict him. So in either case, we follow the Muchsik, and that's consistent. It happens to be. In the first case, the Muchsik was the Lakech, and the second case, the Muchsik is the Moicher, which is exactly how you reacted. Rav Nachman Namaloi Kasha. Why over there does Rav Nachman side with the Moicher, and why over here does he side with Lakech? Zok the Gemara, because Kiv and the Amar Lei, the Vei Bar Sisin. I said I'm selling you the Bar Sisin properties. Umikri the Vei Bar Sisin, and this property is identified as the Bar Sisin property. Therefore, Alei di Dei Rami Legluye the Lav the Vei Bar Sisin. Everything looks here so much that this property is included in the deal. You have to now prove that it's not included in the deal. Aval Hacha, but if you go back to our case, where Rab Nachman sided with the Moicher, even if he was holding on to a star, forget if he had a chazaka. Let's say he take out a star. Don't I have a right to demand that you verify your star? So I have a right to demand that you verify your chazaka. There's a couple of very important reshbams over here. I mean, every reshbam is important, but we can't learn them all. But one shtickle is ukma b'yada de lakeach. This was Rav Nachman who said that lakeach gets to keep it. Zokter reshbam the first time of the kamei, like we're going to learn soon, which we already did learn. Since there's confusion here because there is a property that's called Bar Sisin, it becomes incumbent on the moicher to be very specific. Legluye the Lav Bar Sisin, this isn't part of that package of buildings. Let's just learn these Rashbams over here, where the Gemara explains why it's not a steer. The Rava Lakasha Mata, you could have written this Rashbam. The Bechol Duchti Muki Le Biara Muchsik. You always follow the Muchsik. The Hasa Moicher, they're the Moichers, the Muchsik. They're the Moichers, the Muchsik, meaning over here on Amar Aleph, and then our Gemara, the Lakech is a Muchsik. Kivin the Kula Alma. Here's Rav Nachman. Kivin the Kula Alma Kari Lei, the Vei Bar Sisin. Everybody refers to this property as the Bar Sisin property. But near Nadvarim, Shalafichach Nikras Kain, Shekana mi Vei Bar Sisin. The most logical explanation why it's called a Bar Sisin property is because that's who it was purchased from. Who Amar? Now the Moicher wants to change what's the obvious and say this property, although it's referred to as the Bar Sisin property, I did not buy it from Bar Sisin. He wants to go against the trend. Therefore, Alei Dei Rami Legluye Ulahaviraya Malavi Bar Sisin Laka. He would have to prove that. V'miyavi Edim the Kriyahu the Mikri Hachi. V'loy Mehani Sadei Shalakach Bar Sisin He. If he could prove that in fact, although it's called Bar Sisin, it wasn't from those buildings that he purchased. Mukamin Labiyadei, you will let the Moicher keep. Tapshitalan, it's Pashat Das. The Hada Amrlei. Nixi Devei Bar Sisin Mizavnina Loch Hachikam. One thing we know for sure, he only meant to include properties that he bought as part of that deal. It's a Nixi Shekhanisi Mimenu. The question is this property a property that he bought from him or not? He has to prove that it was not part of that package of buildings. It's not there's no doubt, I'm surely not including in the sale assets that I have that I didn't buy from him in the sale, even though they refer to by that name. Clearly, I was only trying to sell or trying to flip the package of properties that I bought in that deal. Kach nir shashita, that's what it would seem like. Me loy, I'm reading like Kaim Shtarach. If the Moicher wants to say that your star is Mezuyif, it would be incumbent on the Lekeach to verify your star with Adam. So, who's talking about a star? We're talking here about a chazaka. The chazaka shall shonim b'makam star hiba. All the chazaka does is it's a riot that he had a sale. So it's a riot to the transaction. It should be treated no differently than a star. Since the moicher is saying about the chazaka that it's mezuyaf, it's not valid. So now it's incumbent on the lekeach to prove, in fact, that his chazaka was a proper chazaka, meaning the owner or the seller wasn't there with him and manifesting bilas there. Rather, he was exclusively showing his bilas. That's a chazaka. Now, lahani trei uvdi, in both these halachas, Sviralon Krab Nachman, we pass like Krab Nachman, the Hilchasek of Asay Bedin. We pass like Krab Nachman, the Chaim Poiskin, Perushe, Rav Chanina, Ishrein. So the Rishbam tells us that we pass here halacha l'maisha like Krab Nachman. Okay, now we're going to have a whole series of Mabois by base. So what are you doing in my house? And it's going to open up a whole bunch of Yisoidis and Shas. The Zok the Gemara Vayter. Well, Hahud Amar Leila Chavrei. Someone told his friend, "Ma boys b'hai beisa. What are you doing in my home?" Amalei minach savante. I purchased it from you. V'achaltia shnei chazak, and I was in the property for an amount of time that would have made a chazaka. Amalei, you know what he responded? V'shuke b'roi havoi. What are you talking about? You didn't make a chazaka. I wasn't there. Since I wasn't there because I was on business, I couldn't have possibly noticed that you were there. Amalei, what are you talking about? So the purchaser who was living in this property for 3 years tells the moicher, every year you were here in the city for 30 days on business. You came to the Yom HaShuk. So you had to have known that I was in your property, and therefore it would have been incumbent on you to make a machal, and you didn't. So I have a valid chazaka. Amalei, Talson Yoimi, Bishukoyavatarina. When I'm here on business during the shuk, I don't have time to be busy with things. I'm focused on my business. So I was oblivious to the fact that you were there, and therefore your chazaka is not a chazaka. Now, is that a taina? Or maybe it's your asset. It's incumbent on you to know what's going on with your asset, which is what you said yesterday. Zokt Rava, Ovid Inish, the Chaltalson Yoimi Tarit Beshuka. It's normal that when someone's there on business, he's so busy that he won't even check up on his assets, and therefore he has a good argument, and therefore the chazaka is not a chazaka. Let's see the Rashbam. Amar lei. So ma boys by besa shakol yoidin sheshaliha. Everybody knows that this property was mine before you moved into it. That's an important line that will be very relevant in the next case. Amar lei ana beshuki b'roi havoi. I don't live here in this city that I own this property in. I live far away. I live in a place where I wouldn't even have heard that you were there in my property, that you were squatting. And therefore, so you don't have a chazaka because I wasn't ma'ar, I wasn't moiche, I didn't know about it. With Nama Pirkin, Yehuda, the Chazika Begalil, Eina Chazaka, Achie Imai, B'Medina, it had to have been that there's common travel between the city that the moicher is in and the city that Lakeich is making his chazaka. Otherwise, the moicher would not be aware that he needs to make a machal. Or it could be during COVID, where you can't go anywhere, and that's why you couldn't find out about it. Aval, the makom shashayorish matzuyois, the lekechayim, they're loy moti toila. You can't say I didn't know about it just because you live far away. The kaival of a pirkin, machzikin, b'nichse beireach. Even if somebody ran away suddenly from the city, you can make a chazak on his property, and it would be expected that he would know about it. Because the macha shaloi b'fonav have a macha. He could be moicha elsewhere in front of Adam, and it would have gotten back to me, and it didn't. So I can assume that he knew about it and he wasn't moicha, therefore it's a good chazaka. V'toyin lo yadati shehachzik ish ploni b'karkashali. What if the times I wasn't there? I was away, I was out of town, I had no idea. Well, the kachloi machisi einoy nema. He's not believed to say that. You know what? Why the chaver islay v'yomer lo lemachzik? Just like we say, wherever you are, you can make this macha, and the word will spread and travel, and the machzik will find out about it. It goes the other way too. Surely through chaver chislei, somebody would have told him that there's somebody back home being machzik in his property. Okay, beautiful. I was very busy on business. Even though I was home in my home front, my home country, my home city, I didn't even have the time to even check up to see if anybody's in my property. The question is, so where was he staying? Normally, if he's there for the 30 days, he would stay in his house. Where was he staying? He had another place to stay in that city. He had more than one property. Nobody asked this kasha, where was he staying during those 30 days? Because in our world, yeah, he stayed in the hotel, big deal. But in the Gemara's times, in the Rashbam's times, he had two houses? Like, who has two houses? He had two houses. The Yeshua Farshim, Vishakoy have a Taridna, will highly ply limchais, after Bishidati, they didn't know. So this is an important line. Zok the Rashbam, what if he did know about it and he wasn't moicha? There, the Rashbam sticks with what Jabitzak said. That is, that no, if you know your asset is under threat, you have to be moicha. You can't say I was too busy with something else, because a person's going to fight for his asset. You could say you didn't know about it, but to say that you knew about it, but I don't have to be moicha because I was busy, that there's no excuse. If you know your asset is under threat and you don't protect it, that's a very, very good chazak. Zok the Gemara weiter. My boy is bayar. Same time that someone's living peacefully in his house, and someone comes along and says, "You're in my property." Amar le, he told him, "Mi planyo zevinta. I bought this from Pliny. I bought this from a third party." The Bach takes this out. The Amar le, the zavnim he just says the zavnim. I bought it from Pliny, who bought it from you. I didn't stand there and witness the sale, but he bought it from you, and I'm in this property. So he doesn't even have a chazak over here, right? He has nothing over here. So Amar Le, he told him, At lav komoidis, your moida, the high ira didihu. This property originally belongs to me. The at and you're not claiming you bought it from me. You didn't buy it from me. Therefore, Zil, get out of here. Lav bal dvorim didit. I don't even have to talk to you. I can just throw you right out. Amar Avina Dina Kamle. This is absolutely correct. So I want to go back and analyze this. Here, the Rashbam doesn't say it was known that this property originally belonged to the respondent. So technically, what the Mukhsa could have said is, this was never your property. I don't know what you're talking about. This was always my property. So the question is, he has a massive migoy. That's a massive migoy. I could have said this was always my property. And if this was always my property, believe me when I say that I bought it from him and he bought it from you. No, but that's not right. The Rashbam Bedavka does not say that here. In the Friedrich case, the Rashbam said Shakol Yoid Sheshalihaya. Here it's clear that it was not known Baharaya, because the Toyin answered back at lav Kamoidis. Everybody knows I need your Daivedim. Here it was only established that this property originally belonged to the people, to the person being my Arab, because I was my. So I had a beautiful migo. I could have said that this is always my property. So that you can be a blank migo. So how come that doesn't work? That is what Tosfos deals with. It's an easy Tosfos.
Guy staying there now, we believe migo that he could have been.
Migo, I could have said it was always my property, because you have no proof that it was yours prior. I only need to prove that I bought it from you, Chazaka, if it's known that it was yours prior. But I could say, what do you mean? It was always mine. So that's an unbelievable migo. So that's Tosfos' discussion. So let's have a quick peek in Tosfos. Lav kamoidis the ha'ara didihu. Here's Rabbeinu Shmuel. The im muchzak zeh shalosh shana. What if he was a muchzak for 3 years? In this case, he wasn't, right? In this case, he wasn't a muchzak for 3 years. But let's say he was a muchzak for 3 years, and we're going to see that. We're going to see this in the Rashbam later. V'toyin and itanis mi planya zavinte the zavna minach. I bought it from a third party who bought it from you. Kamei didi, in front of me. So I witnessed you sell it to him, and now I'm living in this property for 3 years, and you didn't say a word. The Neman b'migoi, there I'm Neman with a migu. The boy Amar minach sevinte, I could have said that I bought it directly from you. So that's another migu that the Rashbam is bringing up. That if I was there 3 years, our case was not 3 years, but if I happened to have been there 3 years, then I would be neman to say that I bought it from a third party who bought it from you, because I could have just said that I bought it from you. Inami, im yesh lo edim, shehichsik bo amoicher yoim echad. If I have edim, that the person who I bought it from, which we're calling the moicher, was in the property one day, the heavy raya, may I, and there is problem being a raya that this would be a good migui. May he the door bakashta be lisa the klamon, zok toises uchetavor of kenu. I agree with the response. You ever had a toises that says, that quotes a Rashi, Pirish Begodris, and I agree with it. It's Gavalti. Heicha, the yesh edim lema'arer she'akarka shaloi hois. This all works perfectly if the ma'arer had proof that originally the property had belonged to him. But in our case, it's mashma shaloi hoya lema'arer edim. It's mashma that the ma'arer didn't have edim to establish that he was the morikama of this property. So this wasn't mine. I got it through the toises, right? So in this case, in our particular case, where there was an option to deny that it ever belonged to the original guy, if I would have said that I saw that the person who bought it from, who I bought it from, I saw that he bought it from you, he would be believed, even if he didn't have a chazaka, like in our case, migui di boy amar lehoisa shalach me'od. So why taka isn't he believed? So Frank Toises, if I would have been believed to say that it was always mine, so why can't I say right now, I bought it from this guy. I taka don't know who he got it from. I didn't see anything, but I should be believed no matter what. I have a migui that I could have said that it was never yours. Aval vadai. The moment I agreed that it was once yours, because by saying by definition, I'm saying that I'm moided to you, that this property originally belonged to you. I can no longer say that I saw that he bought it from you. I'm not believed to say that my seller, my vendor, bought it from you with a migui. Why am I believed? Because I have a migui that I could have said that this was never yours. And here is the key of Tosfos: the migu lemafreya lo yamrid. Right now, if I have a choice of Taina A or Taina B, I have a migui to be believed with Taina B because I could have said Taina A. But if I already said something that discounts, it no longer allows me to say Taina B because I already admitted that it was yours in the first comment that we had in our first interaction, now I can't say, believe me what I'm saying now, because before I could have said something else. No, Migu's only, instead of saying A, I could have said B. Here, there's two things that are happening. First I'm being motivated that it was yours, and then I'm making a time. And Tosfos will break it down into pieces, because to you, it's all one transaction, it's all one conversation. But Tosfos actually shows that it's two separate conversations, and once the first conversation was completed, I no longer have that option for the Migu. So let's see what Tosfos says. The Migu l'mafreya lo yamrid, because when I learned this Tosfos the first time, I reacted the first way. We're having a conversation. In this one conversation, all this information came out. I could have approached the whole conversation differently. That's why it's a chiddush of Tosfos, because it is all one conversation. So let's have a look. What happened was somebody lived in this place for 4 years. The Omar mi planya zavinte, I bought it from the third party. The Zavadim Nachu bought it from you. And also they came to Rabbi Chia. Amr lei, Rabbi Chia said, I see Sahadi, the Dor Bay, Afilu Chad Yoima. Just bring me a raya that this person who you claim you bought it from was there one day. He put it into your hand. Mashma, the Leslie Sahadi, if he wouldn't have had Adam, that the person who he bought it from had actually lived in this property one day, he would not have been believed to say, I don't have Adam that he lived there. I'm saying that he lived there one day. Why should I be believed to say that? The Migu the boy Omar, I could have said Minach Zavinte, that I bought it directly from you. Why can't I say that? Kivan Shekfar Hoida, the Lav Mine Zavna, Leslu Sumigu, The ein loy laminu the might come hashta. You know why? And this is the key. So I have a masaka daite. So you zokak latinasu. So what makes it a migul mafreya? If at the time where he made his initial concession, he didn't realize that he needed a different taina to be able to make the migui, and it's an oops, there you cannot use the migui. So let's break down the case that Tosfos is talking about into its individual components. The Ma'ar didn't have Edim. If I would have said, if the Lakeach would have said, if I would have claimed that I saw the sale, he would be believed, even though he didn't machzik for 3 years. Here what happened? What happened was he was approached. This is my property. And his initial thing was, I bought it from Yenner, who bought it from you, right? So right off the bat, I'm admitting that you have a right to this property, right? So now I want to say that I bought it from him who bought it from you. The problem is I can't go back anymore. At this point, I can't go back anymore and say the lahadam because I was already moida. So nachamo. The moment he said these words, he's moida v'hoida shahoisha shaloi. Now he can't say. So there's 2 stages. The first thing I said was, I bought it from Reuben who bought it from you. Now he's going to say, prove it. Now, it's the second volley in the conversation. The first volley is, get out of my property. I say, I bought it from Reuben who bought it from you. In that volley, I have an option to make a migu. But now that I established that, now he comes back with a second time. Prove it, right? And I say, what do you mean prove it? I'm saying that I saw he bought it from you. That's the secondary time. So my first time is I bought it from you, who bought it from you. So that's the first time. It's over. I can't go back and change that. Now he comes back and says, prove it that he bought it from me. Prove it that he bought it from me. He didn't buy it from me. So now I have to say, no, I saw. He didn't see. His first time it was, I bought it from Reuben who bought it from you. You have hate him. So he comes back with a secondary time. Do you have hate him? Can you prove that he bought it from me? And he'll say, no, I can't prove it, but I want you to believe me that I bought it from you because I could have lied before. It's too late.
How could that conversation have been different? I mean, he would have kept his meeting.
The way it could have worked is he approaches me, get off my property, and I say, I bought it from Reuben, and I saw Reuben bought it from you. In one sentence. Here, I just said that I bought it from Reuben who bought it from you. Now you want to come back and say Reuben was a Gazan. Reuben never bought it from me. Now I have to reassert that Reuben bought it from you. There, I don't have my meat link. But if right away, when he said, how do you have this property? And you would have said right away, I saw Reuben buy it from you, and I bought it from Reuben, that would have been a meat. But here, it's only when this is mamish like a deposition. The lawyer asks you one question, and then he asks you another question, and you can't go back to the first question anymore. And since in his first response, he didn't say that, and the first response now no longer allows him to say that it was never his, he lost immediately because he lost it in the first round. So the moment you answer a question, which now discounts a future tanya that you're going to say, you don't have a migu, but a future tanya. And now Tosfos goes all around Shas to prove over and over again from different cases that that's how it works. So that is the chiddush of Migul Mafreya. That's why I want to do Tosfos, because it's a big chiddush. It's a Migul Mafreya. It's one conversation happening within a split second of each other. But it's just the difference between how I presented my argument. If right from the start, right from the get-go, I don't say, I saw Reuben buy it from you, so I can't go back and assert that because I no longer have a proof. Because by saying that a previous question I could have answered differently. So that's why you should believe me. Okay, Gavalti. So at the end of the day, take a hike, Amar Rabba, Dina Kamerle. Okay, 6:34. I would love to continue because This is the Rashbam that Tosfos quotes when he talks about this Migo issue. Tosfos brings it up much more explicit and slices it into the steps. So that's why I wanted to do it in Tosfos now. So I just want to at least do the last Rashbam. It's 3 years. What do you mean? It takes 3 years to make a zachazak. Zog to Gemara, Zog to Rashbam, Omer Rava, Dina Kamalei. I just want to let one line. Hama'ar. The Ma'ar is saying, correct, that you have no claim on my property. Even if you made a chazak, in this case there was no chazak. But Zog to Rava, even if you would have had it for 3 years, you're not nema, because it's a chazaka sheinu matayna. Because your whole time is you bought it from Reuben. I'm attacking Reuben's purchase. And Reuben's purchase you can no longer verify because you gave up your migul the moment you said that you bought it from a third party, and not in that same sentence say that you witnessed that he bought it from you. If you can bring a star, there's no question. The whole question is you don't have a star.
The previous star.
Right. You need to bring a star that Reuben bought it from. Yeah, that would solve all his problems. What are you doing in my property? Take a hike. I bought it from Reuven, and I'm here already for 3 years. So the Ma'ara says, he never bought me. He stole it from me. So your whole claim is useless. You have a chazaka she'enu matayim. So the lokeach, the muhsik says, what are you talking about? I have aided him the asoi imlchibach. He went and asked you, should I sell it to me? V'amrit zavin, and you told him to sell it. So you were in agreement to the sale when I bought it from Reuben. So how could you tell me Reuben stole it from you? If Reuben stole it from you, and Reuben went to ask you if he should sell it to me, you should have right away went to Pesach and be ma'ar on him. Boss up is you told him to sell it to me. Huh? I asked you and you told me to buy it. So you knew that I was going to buy it. So right away you should have went to be ma'ar and Pesach, because that's the greatest proof that there's a threat on your property. So by the fact that you told me to go buy it, you've admitted that this is legit. No, you're crazy. I knew the guy who you were buying it from is a mamzer, and he has all of the Rav Dayanim paid off, and he's a lowlife. I didn't want to deal with him. You're an Adel Yeshivish guy. I knew that I'd be able to get it better out of you. So to me, I'd rather fight with you in court than fight with him in court. That's a very good taina. Dina Karmel is a good. Zok to Gemara, there's a machlokas tanoim if that's a valid time. Because in Ksubis, in a similar scenario, there's a machlokas between Adon and the Tanakam. Kaman ka Adon, it's not. I go to Reuven and say, Reuven, so I go to Shimon and say, Shimon, that field you're in, it's my field. But Shimon says, how could it be your field? How could it be your field? In other words, that the person who I bought it from Reuven, stole it from you. How could it possibly be? One of the Adam on the sale agreement from Reuven to me is you. You were one of the signatories on the sale agreement. So how could you say it's not a valid sale because it was always yours and stole from you? You're one of the Adam on the signature. So come on, how can you tell me it's not a legitimate sale? You were one of the signatories. Even in that case, I can say, yes, I signed. Because I'd rather you be the owner than him be the owner, because it's much easier to fight him in court. No, that's already, if you signed on the star, you've admitted this is legit. So Zok to Gemara here, it's mashma that this shiloh that we discussed would be consistent with Admoin, but the Chachamim hold Ibid Eschusoi. So if I have aided that you said I should buy it, that should be Ibid Eschusoi. You're admitting that it's legitimately the person who I bought it from, and therefore I can buy it. Zok to Gemara, no, I feel Temer Rabbanan. Even the Rabbanan would agree over here. Hasam avad lemaisa. Signing on the star is a lot greater of a maisa than just giving advice. That I would do. Tell you to buy it because I want to try to get it back from you and Din rather than the first guy. But to actually sign on the star, that's too strong of a raya. There the Rabbanan hold that I can't be married anymore.
What was
What's that?
Why should Lekaich lose the money if I know
The can't lose the money. He has to go back and run the market for selling him a fraudulent property.
if he's a schwere mensch, why did he put me in the trap?
Even.
Because the guy's a mamzer. Why?
Not the first one, the second, the fifth one. Each from 6 man fell, so I
Them at the brakes. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Yeah. Yeah. You have to say, he'll say, bis jetzt habe ich bis handeln mit der schweren Mensch. Jetzt, ich hab von dir the property, in die guy handle with the schweren Mensch, you get your money back out of him. Who the amalei l'chavre, my boys by ire. Again, Omar lay, mi planya zevinte, I bought it from Ruben, v'achalti shnei chazak. Omar lay, so he told him, planya gazlonahu. Oh, I think I did this already. Oh, that's a different one. Planya gazlonahu. Omar lay, so here he had different Adim. Last time he had Adim that I myself went to you and you told me to buy it. Here it's different. The assist be'urta v'amrit li zav neheli. You asked me if you could buy it off. You came back to me and you wanted to buy it off me. How could you be ma'arer against me if you wanted to buy it off me? If you wanted to buy it off me, obviously you're admitting that it's mine, fair and square. Amalei, Amina, I said, Izvan dinoi. Instead of going through a dintar, you know what litigation costs? Litigation costs a fortune. I figured it would be cheaper for me just to pay you and get it back. Amarava avad inish the zavan dinoi. That's a legitimate taina. So the fact that he wanted to buy it back from you doesn't prove that it's yours legitimately. It's just that he'd rather buy it from you rather than going through litigation. You know, but people are basically saying, I don't trust the Batei Dinim because I'd rather just pay for it because the Batei Dinim I don't trust. Or this guy's a Shver Baldover, right? So I'd rather give it to a more honest guy who's not paying off the Dayanim. So they say over a story about a fellow, there was a couple who were about to get married, and Rahman al-Stan, they got into a bad accident and they both died before they got married. So they're in Gan Eden, but they're not married. And they wanted to get married, so let's get married here in Gan Eden. So they go to the Malach, and the Malach says, this is a big question over here. We never did anything like this before. Got to go to the Boin Shalom line. So go to the Boin Shalom line. The Boin says, you know what? What's jukst dich? Bist dich du for a while? Keep to the gefin if you would say. So comes back in 5 years. And in 5 years, they say, nu, we mun chas nobem. Rabbi says, nee, just like it. Aber was jukst dich doch so? Noch a finit you saying after. So they went noch a finit you. Rabbi says, okay, schon 10 years. Met chas no mach. The roof, met chas no mach. So the condition, gewaltig. 2 weeks later, they realized this shit doch teugnish. Now they want a divorce. So they went to the Malach. The Malach said, we will doch getten. So the Malach says, du and Himmel getten. It comes to the Eibish. So the Eibish says, do you know how long it took me to find a rabbi in Gan Eden? It took 10 years. A lawyer? That's going to take us a century. Zog the Gemara weiter. Who damal chavre? My boy is bahayara. Amalei the same time that me planyas of vinoi v'chaltia shnei chazak. Amalei, I don't understand. So you claim that you bought it, you had it 3 years. So let's say we're in 2024. We're today July 25th, 2024. You claim you've been in this field since July 24th, 2021, right? So you're there 3 years. The problem is, Amalei on the tikna shtara is navni leminei ha'arbishni. I have a star that says I bought it from him in 2020. So how could you have made a chazaka buying it from Ruven and starting your chazaka in 2021 when I have a star that Ruven sold this property to me in 2020? So you've been defrauded because I bought this property from you. I bought this property from Ruven before you claim you bought it from Ruven. I have a star that I bought it in 2020, and you're claiming you bought it in 2021, which is when your chazaka started. Amar lei. So the person who's being machzik will say, I didn't say v'chaltia shalosh shanim. I said v'chaltia shnei chazaka. Mi saver shnei chazaka tlash shnei kamina. When I say I was there for chazaka, it doesn't necessarily mean 3 years. Shnei chazaka tuva kamina. I'm here for years already. I'm here for 10 years, right? And therefore, by saying achaltia shnei chazaka, it doesn't mean dafka 3. It could mean even more. So therefore, you might have a star that you bought it in 2020, but I'm going to claim I bought it in 2019. And now you're the one who was ripped up. Amarava avat inshi the kari l'shnei tuva shnei chazak. So when would it work? He claims he bought it in 2020. He has a star he bought it in 2020. In order for me to invalidate that star, I have to claim that I already had a chazaka on it before he even pulled his star. So if he pulled his star in 2020, I have to claim that I was already there in 2017. So zok the Gemara b'hanimili da'acha sheva the kadim chazaka la'ishtar daha. I only get to keep it if I say that I was in this property for 7 years, because you're bringing, today we're in 2024. You're bringing a star from 2020. I have to go 3 years before that. So I have to say that I was here for 7 years already, which means my 3 years of chazaka preceded the date on your star. Avol shis, if I only claim that I was there 6 years, which means after 2 years of me living in the property, you have a star, ein lach macha gedola mizu. That's the greatest macha. The guy you claim sold it to you, after 2 years, he wrote a star and sold it to somebody else. That's the biggest macha against your chazaka. Instead of coming to you and saying it's my property, he went to bed and he wrote a star and sold it to somebody else. So your chazaka is useless unless you claim you were there for 3 years that preceded in your Edom, that you were there for 3 years preceding the date on this claimant star. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll mamshach tomorrow. I want you to know, I heard that joke.